Well, State and Local is back because it's election season again. And my guest is somebody that you've probably seen. If you've attended town meeting at all, which you should, you probably recognize my guest who is very active at town meeting. He's running for selectman, for the Board of Selectmen, and that would be David Rosenberg. David, thank you so much for coming. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Oh, sure. Now, David, just tell us a little bit about yourself, and more so to the point of why you would like to be selectman, and if you have any ideas about what you'd like to accomplish as a selectman, in addition to all the other duties.
Okay, well, so first talking about myself, I've lived in Norfolk for a little over 40 years.
Oh, my.
My previous service to the town has been that I was a member of the computer study committee that we had around 20 years ago. I was also the chair of the town meeting technology committee when we had that, and I'm currently a registrar of voters in Norfolk.
Oh.
My professional career has been in computing. I have been responsible for software development, doing it myself, leading a software development team. Among the things that I've done professionally that potentially relate to my work, if I'm so elected as a selectman, is that I've represented users in negotiations or in discussions with computer vendors. And by users, I mean not individual people, but universities and national research labs. I've been a member of national standards boards or national standards committees, in which case I was representing my employer in negotiating standards, working on standards, creating standards.
And you are retired now, so you have the time to devote to being a selectman.
Yes, that is true. But so if I can continue, I also have been a member of the U.S. delegation to international standards bodies, and in that capacity, I was representing one of a group of people representing the United States in dealings with the delegations from other countries.
And where was that held?
One meeting that I went to was in Turin, Italy.
Really?
And I've also been to meetings that were in Canada. The reason I mention that is not that I think that the standards I was working on have any relevance to Norfolk, but rather the fact of dealing with people from other countries and representing the United States in the international arena, or representing my employer in national discussions. Another thing that I think is relevant is that while I was employed at MIT, I went through a program called Mediation at MIT, which trained students, faculty, and staff to mediate student disputes. And I think that the mediation training is potentially relevant for work in an environment where there are diverse views and possible conflicts, where people may need help in reaching a resolution that's mutually beneficial. Let's see. So, you asked.
Now, I believe you had an idea about, in addition to all the other things that selectmen have to do, that you had an idea about the meetings themselves.
Yes, I have several things. So let me generalize that and say that one of my goals is to enhance citizen engagement in town government. And there are several approaches that I'd like to take to that. One is in Board of Selectmen meetings, I will propose, if I'm elected as a selectman, I will propose to the other selectmen that at each meeting we have a public open comment section, so that members of the public at large, can address us about whatever is on their minds. I also saw another nearby town that does an annual Town Government 101 session where they have members of every board and committee and department come and talk about what that board or committee or department does, and have Q&A with the public at large about how that is, so that the public will have a better understanding of.
Well, I think that's very good, because I don't think most people really understand what some of these boards do or don't do. And I know that I still don't, to be honest with you. And I know one of the things that the selectmen do is they prepare the annual town report, which you brought a copy here. And in each board has a little section, and I think that's and that must be quite a big book for such a small town, and it's one of the things that the Board of Selectmen it's one of the duties that they do. Now, what do you feel about? How do you feel about the time commitment for being? Can you talk a little bit about that? Because I think you have an appreciation, because you do go to these meetings. It's quite a time-consuming job, isn't it?
It is. I've talked to the two current selectmen, Kevin Calcutt and Jim Lehan, about how much time they're putting in, and Kevin told me that last week he put in 27 hours doing selectmen work, and Jim Lehan said that in view of the fact that the Board of Selectmen is shy one person now, and also has an interim town administrator, he finds that he's putting in about 30 hours a week in the town hall, in addition to
the nighttime.
In addition to meeting with other groups and the phone calls that he takes and the prep work. So one of the, I'll say, advantages I have as a retiree is that I do have time that I can devote to the duties of being a selectman, and I know that there is a lot of time and a lot of work that goes into it.
And you're going for the 3 years.
Right. There are 2 open terms, so 1-year term and a 3-year term, and I'm a candidate for the 3-year term.
And then those people in the 1-year term, of course, they'd have to run again because they're filling out, it would be Jeff and Jim's slots.
Well, the 3-year term is basically the replacement for Jim.
Okay.
His 3-year term is expiring.
Okay.
And the 1-year term is the remainder of Jeff Palumbo's 3-year term. It's the 1 year that's left.
So there's 2 going for 3 and 2 candidates going for the 1 year.
That's correct. There are 2 candidates for each of the 2 positions.
Now, how do you view the race?
So I certainly don't consider it as a fight between candidates. I don't feel that I'm running against anyone. I think that all of the candidates would make suitable members of the Board of Selectmen. I think that I'm offering my services to the town, and I realize that it's a big commitment to take this on, and I'm offering to do it. And if the town chooses to accept my services, fine. And if not, I'm sure they'll end up with a fine selectman no matter who's elected.
I've always thought you were very gracious, because I know there was another time when I think you were running for, was it moderator? And then you'd said, if anybody if whoever wins would like to talk to me about any of my ideas. I mean, I thought that was very generous. I know it was very, very gracious, and I don't think it's something you would hear everybody say.
I hope that everybody running for any office is doing it because they are interested in the betterment of the town rather than in promoting themselves.
That's amen to that.
And so you may remember that when I was running for moderator, I was also interested in enhancing citizen engagement. And during my run, I was soliciting citizens' ideas, and I got emails. I got people talking to me as I was campaigning, and I got phone calls, and I collected them all together, all that set of ideas.
Yes.
And then I ended up posting them on the website, and the winner of that race was Jay Tallerman, and I pointed Jay to the website and offered him all the suggestions that I had received while I was running, and offered my assistance in implementing any of them that he chose to implement.
Well, you're certainly right. I mean, these board positions and this Board of Selectmen, I mean, it really is not about self-advancement. It really is not. Now, I do have a question, though. I'm going to ask everybody. And by the way, I'm only really interviewing people that are in opposed races. And there's one other person who's very new to town, and so she's coming on. But just my email will be at the bottom of the page, and if you feel like you would still like to come on, even though you're running unopposed, feel free. But I was kind of concerned about that business of all the selectmen, the candidates wanting to postpone the election, wanting to oppose the hiring of the town administrator until they'd gotten in, and that would have really moved it. After May 7th or May 2nd?
May 7th is the election.
May 7th. And so that would have been another good 6 weeks.
Yeah, so...
because she was just hired, about a week or so ago?
I think...
something like that.
Yeah, right, last week. What do I say? That when I was approached to... sign a letter to the selectmen requesting that they postpone the hiring of a new town administrator. I did sign, I believe all the other candidates for selectmen also signed it. And it has, pluses and minuses. One of the advantages is that the new town administrator is likely to be here for a number of years. Jack Hathaway was here, I believe, for 15 years. And that there were going to be at least one new selectman, very likely, very possibly two new selectmen. And in fact, there will now be two new selectmen.
Oh, right.
So there was a desire among the candidates to have a voice in interviewing candidates for town administrator and being involved in the selection process. But as you point out, the downside of that was the delay. So like many things in life, there are pros and cons, and you have to make a call.
I thought it was a little bit of a kind of a bold move. I was, and of course nobody would have known about it if it hadn't been brought up on the Norfolk community page. And then I don't know if you followed that at all on there, but Jay Talman had brought it up. He said, there's windows of time during which you can hire people. I mean, they may go off and find something else. And if we're talking about May 7th and then another 2 weeks anyway beyond that. And because town meeting, what is the date of town meeting?
It should be exactly 1 week after the election, which would be May 14th, I believe.
So they wouldn't have had the new administrator. I mean, it's just, I thought it was just kind of crazy. And I feel like, I don't know. I mean, I guess there might have been some sort of a feeling that, to go along with it. Had I been in your position, I think I would have felt that. But, I'm glad that how did that all get dispersed? How was that stopped? The two selectmen said that no, we're not doing that? Was that how that ended up?
Yes. I mean, there was a letter to the Board of Selectmen, and the current Board of Selectmen
that was Jim and Kevin.
Right. Sent back a letter in which they said that they understood the motivation, but they felt that the timing wasn't good, and therefore they were not going to follow the suggestion.
Now, let me ask you what. Now, so in addition to your concern about increasing town participation, is there any phase or any aspect of being a Board of Selectmen that particularly appeals to you? Because there's so many. I got this off of the website, and my cat got to it before I came here today. But I got this from the website, town website, and I guess there are all sorts of duties and responsibilities that all go all through the bylaws. But what was it in particular that you thought would be most interesting to you?
I think that none of the responsibilities are a particular focus of mine. I understand that there are many responsibilities and there's an obligation to fulfill them all. But my goal is to come up with ways in which we can get more citizen engagement in discussions or in making town decisions, more advice. There was a article on the warrant for the town meeting, I think last year, might have been 2 years ago, but I think it was last year, that proposed having a group of citizens get together, discuss all the issues that were potentially facing the town, and prioritize them. And that would be a non-binding expression of opinion on the part of the townspeople. And one would hope then that the Board of Selectmen and Advisory Committee would give serious consideration to the preferences of the townspeople with respect to allocation of resources. As a member of the Board of Selectmen, I'd like to be proactive in getting as much citizen input as possible. You pointed out in the beginning of this interview that I'm very that I tend to speak a lot at town meetings.
You're practically the archivist.
No, the town clerk is the archivist.
Well, I know, but I mean,
but the I guess the point there is that I know that I don't know all the answers, and that I would like to get as much input as possible. I'm not at all reluctant to admit there are a lot of things I don't know, and that I want to ask questions and get advice and ideas from people in town about what's most important to them. This has been done successfully in other municipalities, and I'd like to see it done in Norfolk.
Well, it's a tough. I mean, it's tough because what I think is the worst thing that happens is that and how I don't know how you can really control it, except appealing to people's sense of duty in terms of participation. But you see these different issues come up, and a whole slew of people show up, to yell and vote, and then leave. You see that all the time, and it's very discouraging. I mean, I suppose it's their right to do that, but you would like to think that other things matter more to them than just what's directly affecting them.
Yes. Back when I was on the town meeting technology committee, and prior to that, we're struggling with the question of how to get more participation in town meeting. We have roughly 6,700 or so registered voters in town, which means that that many people could attend town meeting, but a town meeting with 200 people is considered, a good turnout.
Well, I think what they do is, I think people are watching it on TV live, or on I believe, and then they come running in at a certain point.
So
I'm not sure if it goes out live. I should know that, but
I do not think that NCTV has a live feed from the King Philip Middle School.
I'm thinking of Medfield had a live feed. That's what I'm thinking of.
So NCTV does tape the town meetings and then show it later, both on cable and on YouTube. But there is not a live feed. At any rate, so there's the question of how you get people involved. And there are a lot of reasons people aren't involved. Largely, they're not involved because they're very busy. They have one job or two jobs, or young kids that they need to be home with, or they're in school themselves, or they're busy working in Boston and don't get back to Norfolk until late in the evening, or they can't stay late at a meeting because they need to get up early in the morning. So there are all these conflicts that come from the way society functions. But in addition to that, people often feel that their voice doesn't matter that much, that the decisions have been made, that at the town meeting where they can only vote yes or no on something in an article that has been on the warrant. And there isn't an opportunity to have wide-ranging discussions that cross multiple warrant articles, because the discussion is focused on one article at a time, usually. So my hope, and this will only be proven after we've experimented with it, proven or disproven, but my hope is that if people understand that their input is really being taken seriously, that they have an opportunity to voice their opinions about the relative priorities and the allocations of resources, that they'll feel, since the town is really listening to me, then I'll make the effort to come and speak.
Well, I mean, I'm going to say something very cynical. I mean, I think people feel that way because I think there's a lot of people on these boards that are not necessarily have a very democratic attitude.
Yeah. So I think that people on the boards are putting in a lot of. I mean, they are. Time.
Yeah, it's true.
I mean, and they have developed some expertise, and sometimes they feel, oh, okay, I'm the person who studied it, I know it, so I don't really need much input from anybody else. But I think that that's the wrong position to take. I think that they need to be open and responsive to the town, and not just invite people. Every board says you can come to our meetings, you can address the issues we're talking about, but they don't really invite the public to. There's no forum in which the public can come and have a discussion amongst themselves, not just addressing a board, about what people in town really think are the problems we're facing and what they think are the best ways to try to resolve those problems.
Now, I think some of those issues with the boards do end up at the feet of the Board of Selectmen.
The Board of Selectmen can deal with some issues, certainly, but also there is authority delegated to particular boards and committees, particularly those that are elected independently, and a number of them are independently elected. And so the Board of Selectmen can try to influence and advise, but the ultimate decision is often with an independently elected board.
Now, I remember, I mean, I thought Jim Leon was very proactive about, he would often, when I would go to those meetings, he would often ask for comments from whoever was there, and of course he's obviously the people that show up have maybe a particular interest, or some just go to find out what's going on. But I thought that was, and that did, you don't see that in the other board meetings.
Right.
Sometimes, but.
One of the things that I've liked when I've attended meetings of the library trustees is that at the beginning of each meeting, they have an open public comment section where members of the public can talk with the board about any subject related to the library that they're interested in. And they do that at the beginning of the meeting so that people don't have to stay around and wait through the whole meeting and get an opportunity to speak at the end. So I think that is a very nice practice that the library trustees do.
It is, you're right.
I'd like to encourage that to happen everywhere.
Yes. Now, anything else that we just have a couple of minutes, anything else that you would like to add about the race, or what you would think that, now, this is the first time you've run for Board of Selectmen.
Right. This is the first time. The other offices I've held have been non-elective offices. The Computer Study Committee, Town Meeting Technology Committee, and Registrar of Voters are all appointed offices.
Now, speaking of appointed, that just makes me think of something quickly. Now, that's the other thing that they do is the Board of Selectmen appoints the boards.
A number of them, but I mean, there are a number of independently elected boards, and
well, yes, but I mean, it's like a lot of these ones that you go in and speak. So I mean, that's a responsibility and a
certainly. I mean that
and a judgment call.
Yes, the Board of Selectmen interview candidates for appointments, and then based on the interviews, sometimes there's only one person who is applying to be a member, but sometimes there are multiple ones and they need to be chosen. The Board of Selectmen do a lot of work and put in a lot of time doing it. And as I've now been attending Board of Selectmen meetings, I've gained an increasing appreciation for just how much work it is. Mm-hmm. And I applaud the members of the current board for everything that they do and have done for the town. And I know that if I'm elected, I'm making a big commitment of my time and effort to work for the town. And I'm happy to do that if elected. And
you've always been a very civic-minded person.
I've tried. I mean, I think that that the citizens in the town should be in charge of the town and how the town is run. And I'd like to do everything that I can to increase the participation and engagement of citizens in making town decisions. And
transparency too, really. That's the other thing,
Right.
Well, listen, best of luck to you. Thank you. You're the first one to. Well, at least you're starting my sequence of interviews, and best of luck and thank you for all your efforts. I mean, it's been something down the years that everybody realizes that you're very very proactive and very dedicated to the welfare of the town. And I think a lot of people recognize that in you.
Thank you very much. I think that's accurate, but I very much appreciate your saying it. Yes.
Oh, again, thank you so much for coming.
My pleasure.
And thank you for watching State and Local. My name is Anne Marie Battistone. My guest was David Rosenberg. He's running for Board of Selectmen. So we'll have some more interviews coming along later. Thanks for watching.